And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
You may be asking, how is that related? I'll get into that. That's the old Jim Mora Colts clip. Very famous. Playoffs? You want to talk about playoffs? Welcome to First Kick Seahawks. Thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe. Really help out the channel and things that I'm trying to do. Some people are like, well, we got through the hardest part of the schedule, and then we ended up beating the Eagles. They went to the Super Bowl. We just need to beat these 3 teams, and then we'll get to 10 wins, and then we have a good chance of making it to the playoffs. You want to talk about playoffs? Fucking playoffs? Even KJ Wright almost did it on his own thing, and then G. Scott stopped him. Good job. I'm proud of you, G. Because everybody should know this by now. There's no such thing as playoffs. You're already in the playoffs. Every week is the playoffs. It's win or go home. 1-0, baby. We got to go 1-0. Playoffs? You want to fucking talk about playoffs? Well, what if the Rams get in? So what if the Rams get in? That just means that eventually we might have to play the Rams. But you know what? Next year we have to play the Rams again anyways. Playoffs. You want to talk about goddamn playoffs. I want to talk about the Titans. Because you know what conversation? You know how Vrabel would respond right now? If someone's like, well, so what happens if you guys get into the playoffs? He'd be like, fuck you, playoffs? Yeah, you want to talk about playoffs? Our quarterback almost got turned into a mayonnaise sandwich at the very end of overtime, and then we lost. After we had this awesome battled game against the Houston Texans, who were holding Derrick Henry to like no yards. I don't know if you watched that the Oilers Texans game, but that was a fucking brawl. You should go back if you have NFL Plus, go back and watch that game, because they were fucking going at it. That was some smash mouth football, and Derrick Henry wasn't getting anything. That Texans defensive unit is legit. That was cool to watch. And what was cool about this Titans defensive unit is they were ready to go. They're hungry. And I've always really liked that about Vrabel teams is, no, he's an old outside. Was he outside? He's an old linebacker, right? He likes to hit shit. He likes attitude. He was out linebacker, right? He wasn't tight end. It's the same type of thing, but let me make sure. Let me just double check myself. He's not my coach. Was he? Yes, he was a linebacker. I'm just making sure. Okay. He likes hitting. He loves hitting. He loves attitude. And he instills that in his other players. And it's one of the reasons why he wanted Derrick Henry. And he wanted to build a team around Derrick Henry. And when you look at the play calling, which we'll get in today, and the types of coaches that he has calling these plays, he wants it to be about hitting. And he wants to force the other team's defense into a situation where they're hitting. And he wants to pass rush where, yeah, you might be passing the ball, but we're going to hit your quarterback, or we're going to hit your blocker really hard. So he might block your quarterback, but we're going to hit your running back, or we're going to hit your tight end. He wants to hit you. He wants to hit you again. And then he wants to put you on a third down situation where he drops the strong safety, Amari Hooker, where you're in third and long, and then the strong safety can read where you're going to put the ball and then hit that guy. And then he wants you to punt, have your running back, his running back, Derrick Henry, hit you a bunch behind tight ends and fullbacks. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Marshawn Lynch style, over and over. And then once you all come inside, he's going to throw a haymaker right in between the hash marks, right in here. Right? He's going to try to either get you in the jaw or he's going to throw a post route over the top to DeAndre Hopkins. And it's simple, but he's going to get guys that are more physical than you. He's going to hit you hard. And if you are more physical than him, you're going to beat him. But good fucking luck, because his team is jacked with testosterone. Like if this team could eat testosterone Skittles, they would. That's his goal. Is we are going to get you. And when you look at the defense, they run a 3-4. But really it's just a 4-3. So they send 4 minimum basically every single time to fill up the gaps. And they'll often drop a guy and then send a linebacker into coverage. And what I witnessed, at least, is oftentimes they got a lot of ferocity on the line, but against the run they're playing too tall. Their right defensive ends often play a little too tall because they have to drop back into coverage. So even though they'll have their arm in the ground, they can't bear underneath the right guard. They might go into I so they can swim underneath, and that's a huge advantage. But when they drop back so that somebody else can rush in, that's a disadvantage to them. But they come with such ferocity in the backfield that it makes up for it, because they like to do fire zone. Fire zone is that when you typically send one linebacker from the back, you create a zone in and then you punch it, right? So he wants to create, because he was a linebacker, right? He wants to have these linebackers have these zones set up for him. Send one guy to be the fourth rusher, make a punch. The problem is, and my microphone stand is still broken. This is why I always have to hold it, but I like to use both my hands to explain ideas. Like Michael Bennett tried to explain to Mafe, you have two hands, use them. The problem is when you're punching at a running game, it's super useful, right? You can identify the gaps. It creates these nice opportunities. You can tell the running back, hey, and the quarterback, hey, there's this nice hole over here that you should run at. And then Derrick Henry and company will be like, sorry, if whatever team you're running against, let's say it's us, Kenneth Walker will be like, oh, it looks like there's this great opportunity to run over there. I'm going to do that. And then when you try to run in there, suddenly the gap is closed because a linebacker is in your face, or Amari Hooker is suddenly the strong safety in your face. You're like, well, that closed up really fast. Well, yeah, it was by design. They were blitzing into that hole. But when you sell play action against this and the blitz is in there, it creates a nice little pocket. And so sometimes the linebackers, or the strong safety, they need to get in there and fill up that hole. So the quarterback, Drew Lock, Geno Smith, we need to be able to identify that spot and miss, because it suddenly the numbers game is against the defensive backfield. They have too many rushers in the front, and you need to be able to count where the shifting is in the back. So if they're going to be sending fire zone to make up for the numbers in the front, they need to win at the front against us. And it could be really effective against, say, Bradford, who might not be as familiar against stunts along the front or fire zone blitzes. But he's had a lot of reps so far. And like I said earlier, because they've been doing so many pulls back on the defensive line for the Titans, I noticed that these defensive linemen, they're playing really tall. So what happened against them on the Texans game is these offensive linemen played so much lower than them in run plays that they were able to get up under the Titans players and just shove them out of the way. So the linebackers didn't really have any gaps to run in. So not only was it establishing a good running attack against them, which eventually was getting shored up and the Texans were having to settle for field goals, it was also establishing play action, which was creating these big chunk plays towards the end of the game, just wearing out this Titans defense. And so the defense battled all the way through, even to overtime. It came to like the last 3 minutes of the game. It was crazy. But the running game got tired. That run defense, we can beat that because they physically aren't playing it well, which is interesting because it's a Mike Vrabel defense. And he has a defensive coordinator named Shane Bowen, he played safety in high school, switched to linebacker, right? So another linebacker type guy who's running his system. He was a Houston Texans guy, and he started in 2016. So, it's not like he's been in the league for a long time. So it might just be a case of he's got a bunch of young coaches around him on defense. It looked like an undisciplined defensive front. That's the vibe I got. Like they could definitely be playing defense better, but I saw a lot of talent. They have this pass rusher. Oh, what was his name? Denico Autry. Denico Autry is going to be a goddamn problem. He's going to play against Damian Lewis, and he's going to try to attack Brown a lot. What they've been doing is they'll run. I had some pictures. Actually, I got some pictures. Let me pull these up. Boom, ba-doom. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. All right, so this is actually from last year, and this is I have the credits down below. For some reason, the names of who I'm trying to credit is eluding me, so I am sorry. I'll look at that in a second. But they like to run two main types of stunts. They like to run this pirate here, where they have the 9. Right, the outside linebacker, where Bruce Irvin would typically play, right? He'll come and he'll crash inside the B gap. And then they'll have the 5 technique, who lines up over the tackle, crash inside the A gap. And then they will have the 1. My brain is farting today. Crash outside. And this creates complication where he can bend out, and then you can push these offensive linemen inside. See how the heat, you want to get him open and give him an opportunity. And Autry is using this to great effect, where our left tackle Cross and, Lewis are getting blocked off, and Autry is selling this really hard, and it's causing our tackles to try to push out of the way to get to him because Cross has to try to beat him out there because, in this situation, you're losing 3-2. But then Autry, while selling that, will crash back in to the A gap. And that's what I was seeing against the Houston Texans, is he'll try to pirate out while these two are crashing in, and then he'll crash back into the A gap after these guys window in. And the key is to get the center to not follow him. Because, if the center follows him and then it's 3-on-3, it doesn't work. But if the center stays over here and then it's 2-on-3, when he crashes back in and he tries to stay outside to get this, it was game over. It was something special. But him running this pirate routinely was teeing that up. Another thing that they like to do is they run this flush where, again, it's just a numbers game. They're crashing on the outside to just pin the left tackle and contain on the outside, and it helps to help pin this B gap. And then he needs to come in all the way around and get to the other side. What I saw was he often, the 9 will often also hit this B gap too. But the idea is to flush this whole side of the line out of the way and give him all of this room here. And so if this guard is pulling out of the way or going out into space, he just has more room to just run with. So it just gives him tons of gap space, and you can see this causing a rush. This is often kind of like a fire zone. If he was back here, right, and he's just blitzing from this position, it would just be fire zone. But since he's right here, it's a flush. So it's the same kind of problem where, for instance, 10 here, now the quarterback just knows, oh, he's coming into this spot. I have to hit this here, wherever 10 is going, before I get crushed because I'm losing this numbers game. If the center doesn't pick him up, for instance. So it's just something that you have to watch as a quarterback and as an offensive line. And just something that I thought you guys might find interesting, because it's something that Vrabel and company are going to probably run a lot against us, and also why all of the guys are standing so tall, because they're going to be pulling this way, going this way, right? It's often why you see tackles standing so tall, because they're not going to be ready to go under to do a big run. They're like, well, I'm going to have to run all the way fucking over there. So I'm not going to waste the energy. Which gets to a problem that they're having on offense. Actually, before we get to the offense, I want to finish up on the defense. Their defensive backs. Mike Vrabel likes to run cover 1, cover 3, basically the same thing. You have a free safety over the top, and then you have the strong safety underneath, and then you have 2 corners on the outside running tall. Most likely, hopefully running tall, right? And they're manning up. And he likes to run man. What I saw against that Houston's game is they ran a ton of man. And they're quite good at it. They're really good at man from what I saw. They had DeAndre Hopkins covered up really well. Some of the best plays that they had against Will Levis were him throwing to these out routes and to these fade routes. And, not Will Levis, against the Houston player. was him playing all these shot routes, and they were just up there just getting their hands deflecting the ball. You know me, I'm all over the place. I always have so many thoughts. I get scrambled and I get them out too fast. But what happened when Shane Bowen joined the team is he brought in the cover 2, or where he has 2 high safeties. And I kind of went over this at the beginning, but I'll explain it a little clearer. On first down, which is typically passing downs nowadays, Mike Vrabel's defense runs cover 2. So he's got 2 safeties over the top. He's got a corner on either side. He's got 3 defensive linemen, and he's got 4 linebackers. And then he wants to encourage the opponent, he wants to encourage us to run with Kenneth Walker. He doesn't want us to pass. Oh, well, there's 2 safeties out there covering high. Even though it's a passing down, we should run the ball because we win the numbers game. They don't have an extra man in the box. It's a light box. So let's run and pick up some extra yards. And then they want their guys to go in there and stuff the shit out of it. So that on second down, it's 2nd and long. Let's say 2nd and 8. And he's going to do cover 2 again. Well, it's cover 2. So, technically, it's more advantageous to run on 2nd and 2. And if we pick up like a good run, it can set us up for a good situation on cover 3, on 3rd down. So then we would run with Kenneth Walker on 3rd down. And then he'd be like, well, we already know that in a light box, we want them to run on 3rd down. On 2nd down. So we go in and we stuff them. And if they pick up 2 yards, whatever. Because now it is 3rd and 6. So then on 3rd and 6, he's going to switch to cover 3. He's going to have the strong safety drop in. Because there's only so many hot spots you can cover. He's going to have the strong safety over the top. And then he's going to have the corners on the outside. The strong safety is going to come, free safety over the top. He's going to have the strong safety come in and cover the tight end or cover any bunch formations or cover a slot play. And then he's just going to be like, well, it's very unlikely that they're going to run for 6 yards, throw on us. Or if you would like to attempt to run, my strong safety's right there to clean it up. I'm just going to cover the seam with him. And it works pretty good, except their defensive line has not been holding teams to the 2 yards, on 1st down and 2nd down because they've been playing too tall. So the idea of we're just going to have you play against a light box on 1st down, have you play against a light box on 2nd down hasn't been working. But when Amari Hooker is in cover 3, he's all over the fucking field. And he is all over the field in cover 2. It's just they want him to be 3rd and 6, there to shut down the play, have you punt. So if we run on 1st down and we pick up 2 yards, and then we run on 2nd down and we pick up 2 yards and it's 3rd and 6, and you're like, well, this is good. We're in 3rd and 6. We're kind of following the Vrabel script. If we run on 1st down and we pick up 4 yards, Vrabel's going to have a really long day because his script is not going to plan. And his guys they're not playing good fundamental football. There. I got it all out. I don't think I have any more thoughts on their defense. Let me just make sure in my brain. Make sure in my notes. Yes. I got it. I didn't miss anything this time. Cool. I'm going to pull up a couple more images before I get into this topic because this one This one makes me a little sad, but also I got to bring it up. And I didn't want to reveal it before. So I had them hidden. Can I make this bigger? I sure as hell can. Awesome. All right, I am going to share my screen again. This is what happened to Will Levis at the very end of the fourth quarter. At like the very end of the fourth quarter. This man has a defensive lineman underneath him and a defensive lineman on top of him collapsing on him. He's also getting his ankle twisted at the same time. And he's just kind of getting like squirted out. But that's a mayonnaise sandwich. He's between two defensive linemen, and he's the mayonnaise guy, right? So I found that unfortunately funny. Unfortunately, I found that funny. Here's the mayonnaise splooting out. He literally just splooted out. Yeah, that sure is something. And then this is him finally on the ground. He sploots out and then just, just kind of rolls over. So this poor guy, they say his ankle's okay, but he might not play. I wanted to show that to you for the humor of mayonnaise sandwich, because that's what came to mind. But also, like, that looked uncomfortable on a lot of reasons. Hopefully his ankle is actually okay. But he might not play. I'm going to continue the conversation as if he will play, because that is what Vrabel and company have said. They have said that he is good to go. All right, we're going to do that. So he got his ass beat in that Texans game. And there is one particular man I would like to discuss. And shout out to the audience. Hey, Mr. Roberts. Their left tackle, Jaelyn Duncan, is a problem. And he's going to be the man that we want to beat if we want to beat the Titans. He's 23 years old, which means, yes, he was born in the year 2000. He was a 6th round pick of this year's draft. And he's a big guy, 6'6", 306 pounds. So he's a little light for his size. You ideally would like him to be around at least 315. He's a left tackle, so you want him to be a little bit spry, right? But he's still a little too light. But he's agile, right? Which is nice. He's got a long wingspan, and he's got the height. But that's the problem, is he's got the height. And I talked about this on the defensive line. They're playing too tall, but they kind of have an excuse to play too tall. They're dropping into coverage on the defensive line. On the offensive line, you don't drop into coverage. You pull, right? And I didn't really see him pulling. But what I saw was a guy who's really tall, and he plays really tall. Especially since he's got his palm in the dirt. He's not playing with his hands on his thighs. That's not what Vrabel teaches. And apparently that's not what Tim Kelly teaches, their offensive coordinator. But what I'm seeing is a guy who, he has quick feet. but he doesn't know how to use his feet, and he doesn't have a good stance. This left tackle is a project who's probably getting replaced at the end of the year in the draft. So if we want to beat this Titans team, we do it by beating this left tackle. This offense is supposed to be you run behind 2 tight end sets or a tight end and a fullback. And it doesn't seem to be working because this left tackle is getting teed off like Germain Ifedi. He's got better footwork than Germain Ifedi. Germain Ifedi would plant, but it's the same kind of thing where he's lurching forward. He's got the wingspan, but he doesn't know how to use it in close coverage, right? He's not keeping the guy at bay. So he's getting beaten on the inside over and over again. I talk all the time about the kick step and the kick slide. So on the left side, when somebody's trying to swim outside, you want to kick back and then step into them to realign yourself. Because when they're trying to beat you outside, they're trying to get to the 7th step of the quarterback or the 5th step of the quarterback. And so by reestablishing yourself, you can then use the length of your arms instead of having your arm dangling outside trying to basically establish a hold to stop the play. He's kicking horizontally, basically kicking out to the side to try to stop this guy. He's not kicking at all. He's sliding. He's doing like a slide stumble. It's terrible technique. And you're supposed to kick and then maybe slide to catch this guy. But what's happening is when you slide into the guy immediately, you lose all of your leverage. And time again, this dude would get pancaked by this defensive line, bowled over, and it wouldn't just be Will Anderson, who's an amazing player on the defensive line of the Texans, but it would be all of their players. And Levis would be running for his life, which brings up how Levis would run. He's not running on the outside because there's no way for him to escape outside. He's running right up the A-gap. And he doesn't seem to care about being safe. It might be different this week if his ankle is actually hurt. But when he runs up the A-gap, he's trying to get a first down because I can hit 10 yards. So he'll lunge forward. He's not sliding to get down. He will always lunge forward, throw himself forward. I would very much like to see us overpower left tackle. Have Diggs drop into quarter coverage. Sorry, not quarter coverage. My tinnitus is actually flaring up right now because I get excited. I yell too much and then it triggers. I want to see Diggs do what he did last game, where he was dropping down to attack the curl routes on the tight ends. Because that's where Levis is going to be running. He's going to be trying to run right between the hash marks. And by hitting between the hash marks, he's also trying to hit DeAndre Hopkins between the hash marks. Remember, the point of this offense is to run the ball. And by running the ball, bringing the linebackers, our linebackers, Brooks, Bobby, whoever else, it would be Jamal Adams, but I think Jamal Adams is benched. Get them to crash down, and also to create the honey hole, which is where our linebackers are so preoccupied that the hash mark in the middle, where A.J. Brown was supposed to be getting hit last week, is open for Hopkins. So Will Levis is going to be trying to hit that. And the way we defended that last week is we had Love over the top, and we had Diggs crashing under there, defending it. So I want to see Diggs crash down and try to stop and protect the center of that line and between the hash marks. that'll really stop any scrambling or broken plays or any chain movers that they're going to have in the passing play. Because as far as Levis throwing the ball deep, because that's the other thing they want to do, is by running the ball a whole bunch, you bring the safeties in and everybody running in, and then you can throw deep on one-on-one situations. He doesn't throw the ball far enough. He kind of throws the ball exactly where the player is, which means Trey Brown, Michael Jackson, Devon Witherspoon, if he's healthy, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to pick off the ball. And time again in that Houston game, they were batting the ball away or dropping the ball, and it wasn't good coverage. I mean, yes, they were in position to make a play, but the ball wasn't leading the receiver. The ball was underthrown. And it wasn't, hey, I was under pressure. He was throwing those balls when he had a great pocket. So if we want to stop them, we take away those underneaths. Don't really worry about him throwing over the top. Let our guys play man, take care of it. We'll be okay. And then focus on making sure Derrick Henry doesn't have his revenge game. Because I don't think Derrick Henry is going to accept having the performance he had last week. I'm going to actually pull up these stats. It was ugly for Derrick Henry. I'm going to Pro Football Reference. Shout out to Pro Football Reference. I love everything that they have to offer. I think they run mostly off of donations. They do have some supplemental ads, but they can always get more help. All right, he had 16 attempts for 9 yards, and his longest run was 6. He also was targeted 4 times. He had 4 receptions, and he had 1 receiving yard. So, all in all, he had 20 carries for 10 yards. Yeah, he's gonna try to have a comeback game today, or on Sunday when he plays us. And if we can blow up that left tackle, we have a good opportunity to try to tackle him. And I want to see us actually fucking tackle this man, because it's doable. Clearly it's doable. And we've had tackling problems all year, except against the Eagles. Did we learn our lesson? Did we finally figure out how to hawk tackle? All we had to do was get rid of our most expensive defensive player and get rid of Woolen because he doesn't know how to tackle. If we can bring in Witherspoon, bet that boy knows how to tackle. Michael Jackson knows how to block up and set up tackles. If Vrabel wants to play my brand of football, my favorite brand of football, which is we're going to fucking hit you, and then we're going to hit you, and then we're going to hit you, and then on 4th down, we're going to hit you. Let's hit them harder, because they're not playing football well. They're playing football too tall. And I bet Reed and Williams and Jones and Maffei can play football better. And Henry won't have anywhere to run. You guys should be psyched for this game. This is the playoffs, baby. We're going to go 1-0. And as Roberts in the chat mentioned, we probably should look into replacing Waldron unless he goes into this game and has figured it out. The best way to win football games in today's NFL is to go, it's clobbering time. Don't go out there and be toilet paper that people are running through. How many times have we seen a game where we're being run through? We have these great offensive line. We have this great tight ends. Use the tight ends against this defense. The Titans like to do inverts with their defensive backs. They'll have the safeties crash down. You know how to beat that? Use your tight ends. You know how to set that up too? Use your tight ends. You need that, because when you do that, you can set up things for JSN and DK. It's awesome. There is no reason we can't kick this team's ass if we just play good fundamental football and we want to kick their ass. They want to, as I said, have a bounce back game. And their tight ends and their fullbacks, they want to have a bounce back game because they didn't block for Derrick Henry. They didn't block for their king. They're going to come and they're going to try to fucking bring it. And if Will Levis' ankle is hurt, they're going to need to run it more. Because if their backup quarterback, Mr. What's-His-Fuck, who I'm going to look up right now because I forget, who also can't throw the ball to save his life. Well, they have Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis. I don't think they'll start Ryan Tannehill, but if Malik Willis starts, they're definitely running the ball. This is my type of game. I love running games. And all of this should set up the pass for Geno Smith, or as I said yesterday, I think that they're benching Geno Smith for at least one more game for contract reasons, because they're going to get dirty for him. If Geno Smith starts, that's good for him. He has a chance to make some more millions. But yeah, we should be able to kick this team's ass. And yeah, Roberts, we have, who said, we have a lot of talent, it just don't get used. You 100% agree. It's been like that all year, where Waldron has been running these schemes that aren't useful and don't make sense until last week. Just run the fucking ball, bro. I've described this. Half of your starters are blockers, and sometimes more than half of your starters are blocking. Run the ball. It's where most of your team is invested in. Go after them. Go get them. I'm about to end. Before I go, does anyone have any questions about the Tennessee Titans? While I review my notes. I think I got them all. Yeah, I covered the whole subject. Oh, who was their other? Tajay Spears. Derrick Henry is their muscle. Tajay Spears is like their agility. So oftentimes you'll see Derrick Henry just punch through a line, and then Tajay Spears will bounce around. So if we see some screens and stuff go to Derrick Henry on the outsides that are being stuffed, expect him to run a ton, get 0 yards, and then while we're stopping him, Spears comes in, and then they keep running the ball. So Tajay Spears is also a good talent who will get skinny and will also get yards. So, expect to see a lot of talent from their backup running backs. He will get used in a different way. They have a well-balanced and versatile running attack. Question about our running game from Roberts. Yes, what is our running game? Our running game, what's it all about? It is about spot running. So we spread everything out. Andy Reid kind of made this famous, really. But then McVay came in and established this, and Shane Waldron has kind of taken this idea and brought it to the Seahawks to some effect. But it's different than what you would get from the West Coast scheme. It is still based off of the basic principles of the zone blocking scheme. You need Alex Gibbs' ideas from the Broncos to run it. But the basic idea is when you spread everything out, you create one-on-one gap matchups for the running back. And the running back will have the typical option of you can read these three or the fourth counter on the backside to read from. But it's easier on the running back because the linebackers and the safeties are all cleared out. And you don't run it as much for that reason. And because you have a slot running a fade. And when you have the slot running the fade, the linebacker needs to carry up the fade. Or in this case, the nickel needs to carry up the fade. It also, because our offense creates all this motion on the outside, you need to have lighter players on defense. So defensive ends, for instance, they can't be heavier because they need to be able to cover the orbitals and the sweeps that go on the outside. So you'll see Lockett or whoever just doing all this nonsense on the back, and I hate it, right? I'd rather them just do a sweep, and because it could create the same type of thing without wasting as many steps. But the idea is that you need somebody to play closer to the 7 technique, which is outside of the tackle, so that they are out there, and it gives a flanking opportunity to create a lane for the back. And the more you spread out the offense, the more you can spread out the defensive line. And if you can do that and keep the offensive line tight, then it gives them advantageous blocking angles. And then you can say, I want to run there and pick up like 4 yards, because when I sit there and I count, I have the right end outside the left tackle, and he's at 7. And then I have a 3-eye, and then I have a linebacker way over here. And so there's 3 blockers over there. And then I have my left tackle, left guard, and my center. So I have 3 tacklers and I have 3 blockers. So when I try to run to the left side, it's going to be an even match because the corner's cleared out of the way and the safety's cleared out of the way, because when I'm running, everything is going to be preoccupied. Whereas on the other side, I have like trips 3. I have like a triple over there. So everything is preoccupied on that side. So this is why a lot of teams like to run weak, because you have so much activity on the right side that you can get a nice little spot run on the left. So it's not necessarily about setting up I need him to get there to beat this guy to then go over here and then pull a guard over, because then when you just see, oh, I just have this nice little lane, I'll go there. Eventually somebody will come and meet me at the gap. It's a matter of how many steps until you reach this opportunity. Whereas with Derrick Henry, it's we're going to muscle you out of the way to create this opportunity. And then when you get there, I need to drag you, and I need to create the space to get to the 6 yards. So I hope that answered the question. Most of our runs would, of course, be on the outside. Derrick Henry runs on the inside. Thank you all so much for being here. Please like and subscribe. I am going to, of course, do a stream tomorrow, which is Turnover Thursday. I'm going to talk about ways that we might pick off this team or how they might pick us off. It might be fun. It might not be. I hate Turnover Thursday. You all have a good day, and I will see you around.